The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
I said over the other day, mind-blowing story. A rabbi from Israel told this story, Rabbi Menashe Reisman. He said that one of the victims on that fateful day of October 7th, on Simchat Torah, he was at that festival, and this young man, he used to go to Yeshivat Tifrach. He used to be a yeshiva boy. And he went off the path, and he ended up becoming Mehalel Shabbat. So his former Rosh Yeshiva, he came to pay a visit to console the mourners. And he sat down opposite the father of this man. And he started talking, and the father said to him, "You came to console me, you came to give me chizuk. I don't need any chizuk." He says, "What do you mean?" He said, "My son, after the burial, he came to me in a dream, and his face was glowing. And he said, 'Abba, I have the zechut of learning Torah, chavruta, one-on-one kaviyachol with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm learning Torah with Hashem.' He said, 'I don't need any chizuk. My son is in the greatest place.'" You see, somebody who dies because they're Jewish is considered someone who passed away al Kiddush Hashem. He's considered a Kadosh and a Chassid in Olam HaEmet. I once heard many years ago, there was also a horrific tragedy, and the way the people died was just so unbearable. And they asked one of the Mekubalim, they said, "How could it be? Why would Hashem do such a thing?" Of course, we don't understand even 1/1000% of why Hashem does things. But this great Kabbalist said, he said, "Do you know what kind of inspiration the world got from these murders? Do you know how great so many people, how many things they accepted upon themselves, how much growth the entire world got because the tragedy took place like this?" He said, every single person who perished like that is getting the zechut of every single Jew in the world. Millions and millions of zechuyot, because they were the catalyst of all this inspiration, of all this unity, of all this Ahavat Yisrael. All of that goes to their merit. And somebody who knows what the world is really about, just a stepping stone, it's just a step to the next world, doesn't have any questions after that. There's always questions. Why do I have it so hard? Why can't I get a break in my business? Why don't I have children yet? Why aren't I married yet? A lot of questions. But someone who knows the purpose of life is to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the circumstances He put you in. And if for some people it means not being married yet, and for some people it means not having children, and for some people it means being sick, and for some people it means whatever it is, and you are able to do your job in your circumstance, in the next world you're going to be as great as the Gedolim of all time, because you did your job. You did what you were supposed to do. How do I know what I'm supposed to do? I'm not a Navi. What should I do? You don't need to be a Navi, because Hashem knows what your job is. He puts you in the exact circumstances you need to be in. Nothing just happens. There's no such thing as, oh, it happened. The Khatam Sofer said, he once said a line. He said, "We are not like fish at sea, where one fish can come and just swallow up another. Everything that happens in every single person's life is b'hashgacha nora, hashgacha peratid. Why this captive is released at this moment and this one is not, and why this one was taken and this one was not. Everything is with such a cheshbon. Nothing just happens. The enemy has no power. They are as small as ants. Doesn't matter what they say, what they do, because we are always in the hands of HaKadosh Baruch Hu." Somebody told me they just went through a difficult time. He told me Hashem is unbelievable. He was crying. He said, My wife and I went to the hospital a couple of weeks ago to deliver our baby. We're so excited. I don't know if it was their first child, second child, young couple. And he said, we're so excited to have a child. And when we got there, the doctor told my wife, you have a very long time. It's going to be a long labor. So she told me, could you go get me a book? Maybe I could read and maybe I could become inspired. So he said he went to find a book for her. And maybe he went to get he went home to get things for her. Whatever he did, wherever he went to buy a book, forgot the details. And he came back and he gave her a book on Emunah. And she said she was reading the book, and then it was a very long labor. She read a lot of the book, and then it was time for her to go into active labor. And she had a baby, and the doctor said the baby's Down syndrome. And the mother started crying, and she tells her husband, she said, do you know what I just read? Right before I closed the book, there was a chapter called Children of Eternity. And it talked about the Kedusha, how holy the Nishamot of Down syndrome children are, and how they're going to be at the forefront. When Mashiach comes, they're going to be the first in line to greet him. And there was a whole piece on how great these Nishamot are and what the zechut of a parent that has to raise them. And we had no idea that we were going to have this child. And out of the thousands of books in the world, I said, just get me a book. And you brought me this book. And is this piece a second before I go into labor? This is Hashem holding our hand. He's saying, I know this is a little tough for you now. I know you might be asking, well, my friends don't have this. My neighbors don't have this. Why me? And Hashem says, don't worry, I'm with you. This is your job in life. This is something I need you to do, but don't worry. I'm with you every step of the way. And she said, we got so much chizuk from the little whisper that Hashem gave us beforehand. Everything is so calculated. Everything, we're not chas v'shalom out there and just subject to whoever wants could come do whatever they want to us. Heaven forbid. We are always being controlled by our loving Father, whether we see it or not. A great Rabbi, Rabbi Avraham Ganichovsky, he used to pray in Bnei Brak every single day, Vatikin. And there were was a very nice minyan. Good Jews would come every day and pray there. And one day, a man who frequented that minyan, right in the middle of his life, he went to Shacharit that day. He prayed Vatikin. And that afternoon, there was a tragedy with him, and he left the world. So they came to the rabbi and they said, Rabbi, doesn't it say in the Gemara that anyone who prays with the sunrise, he doesn't get damaged? How could this happen to this fellow Jew? So the rabbi told them, let me give you a mashal. He said, imagine someone's taking a flight from New York to Eretz Yisrael, and you pay thousands of dollars for a first class ticket, sitting on the plane, enjoying the ride. All of a sudden, there's a announcement from the captain, from the pilot. Good news, we're landing 2.5 hours early. Is the guy sitting in first class going to say, hey, I got ripped off. I want my money back. I'm supposed to be on this plane for another 2 hours. That's not fair. No, you got in early. You got to your destination. He says, you think it's damage for a Jew like this to get to his destination in Olam Haba now? That's not called damage. This was a Sadiq. He is now basking in the radiance of the Shekhinah. Don't worry, he's not complaining. Only someone who doesn't understand what the world's about has a lot of questions.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org